Hey guys, what's up? It's Schlaw, coming to you with a wonderful episode of Walks with Schlaw. I'm noticing the furball is fitting looser now, and I'm a little bit sad about that, but I hope it doesn't fly away. If you don't know what furball I'm talking about the fur that is over the mic. I don't really have too much to get into. I don't think I've really been thinking about much. I've been happy that I got a good night's rest last night, and today will be a nice short day, a luxury I haven't really been able to enjoy all week due to my car being out of my grasp. So it's nice. It's nice to be able to get a chance to relax a bit. Obviously, there are 6 less car rides with schlaws as a result of that. Oh, another thing is I keep forgetting to export these walks with schlaws right after I record them, so I'm not really, the times are going to be off from what they should be, but we'll get better at that with time, I'm sure. Anyways, I guess I'm just thinking about how interesting this whole thing I'm doing is. I don't know if there's that many people who do what I do. I guess there probably is. There probably is a lot of people who do this where they just record and talk and it's sort of like a journal. But I don't know. I don't know if it's as much or like as much of a genuine hobby for a lot of people. I'd be curious though. I'm sure there's other people on YouTube, but it's obviously not that many, especially people who have been like me and persevered through very low view counts. I don't know. I guess it did become like a lesson where this is really what I enjoy, and my hopes are still the case that someday it could be a career thing, but I guess for the time being I stopped thinking about that. It's just become the most entertaining thing for me to engage in, and it still amazes me just how gradually I got to this point, and it's amazing that I'm even here because I never would have thought I would have been doing all this. I just didn't think it would happen, and I don't really have to be too concerned about it, but it is going to become much more difficult relatively soon. When the cold sets in, I'm going to have to wear gloves, which is not fun, and then when the summer sets in, it's going to be tricky because of the sun. So I don't know how it's going to work. I may just have to do it right on the street, which is not super fun, but yeah, I guess something too just to take note now that I'm thinking of it, because I want to try to, this series is totally like just a hodgepodge of things. It's very miscellaneous. I think sometimes it's me trying to remember memories, and then at other times it's me trying to document how I'm feeling about certain things, so in the future personally I can remember, but it's also possible that somebody watching could just be interested in kind of how I'm doing. In addition to, we have some episodes where I'm kind of getting into different theories that I've came up with, and that's kind of what I think is the most important, the most critical, but it just doesn't end up being the case that happens all the time, for whatever reason. It's just, I don't know, I don't always have something super groundbreaking. Sometimes I'm just not there, if that makes sense. Particularly yesterday, I was really exhausted, and I'm not really sure how I was okay with staying as late as I was. It's kind of odd, honestly, but for whatever reason I was like, for a long time, and it's documented about how I was staying late at work and I was like really hype about it, muscling through it, and I don't know, just yesterday I was thinking like, man, how did I do this? Like I think I was in a bit of a mania, because now it's like, wow, you know, just kind of hits pretty hard, I would say. And so just that fatigue is kind of setting in, and it hasn't been, I just don't even know. I don't even know how I dealt with that, I guess. It's just like, it's crazy. I think it's crazy that I pulled that off. Still wish it would have lasted a little bit longer, but you know, I'm hoping and I'm supposing that there was some kind of lesson to be had or something like that. I don't know, but just wanted to document and remember. I think I kind of did, because in the car rides with Schlaw, I talked about how I was tired, but I actually don't know if I had that specific detail. So that's kind of interesting. But yeah, things just seem to be kind of crazy recently. There's a lot of different things I want to do, and I'm just not doing them. And that's always kind of been the case with where I am mentally. I have so many different ideas that I'm interested in and that I want to do, and then, you know, I don't usually end up getting to them, which is kind of sad and frustrating. You know, you like, at least in my case, a lot of times, I probably started noticing this by the time, I want to say around 10 years old. And so it's pretty interesting because I don't remember this being the case before then. So it's maybe, it's hard to pinpoint though when it would have been. But as I got older, I think my mind became stronger. And so things started to get to the point where my brain could fantasize and exaggerate things that I would do beyond the material joy of doing them. This is almost like a Zen or kind of like spiritual experience, but I didn't really know it or get it at the time, and it's possibly a skill I've kind of felt as dangerous, because in retrospect it seems like it's strange. It's symptoms of a strange depression, where in anticipation of things I would be really excited, thinking about it's obsessively. I can remember in school, all day at school, I would just fantasize about playing a certain video game, and it would just be constant. I would see it in my mind vividly, and I would come up with all kinds of like alternate things. Like I wanted this game to be, I wanted like school stuff to be in the game during school, thinking like that. Like I'd come up with all kinds of crazy fantasy imaginative ideas, and at the time I don't think I like really connected the dots. Like when I was a kid, and I believe I was probably around 9 with what I'm referencing at this moment, I never really connected the dots. Like I would still have this intense desire, this longing, this obsession with playing the game, but then I would eventually stop. And I would just come home and play it and enjoy it, and I didn't really think too much of it. But I think as I got older and my mind got a little bit stronger, it started to get to the point where, you know, I'd really be thinking about doing things. I'd think it in my head, but then to materially execute it, it started to become difficult, you know? Like I'd be really happy to play a certain game. I'd be waiting and waiting all day to get to play it. Again, this like obsessive, repetitive mind. And then when I'd finally get the chance to do it, it just, I don't know. It didn't really, just wasn't that fun. It wasn't that interesting. I mean, I couldn't even, and when that would happen, I guess I didn't really understand it at first. And I was like confused. And I remember I talked to my dad about it, and he said, that happens to him sometimes, but like he kind of got where I was coming from. Like he was saying there's some things, with his work, I guess, but I guess it doesn't typically happen with hobbies or pleasure activities. That's not what he said. That's just what I'm saying right now. And I think since then, this symptom has just escalated where it's just like, I almost like can't, like there's things I've wanted to do for months. There's things I've wanted to either organize my room a certain way, experiment with my desktop. I wanted to put my old GPU in it. Just all kinds of things I wanted to do and get organized. And I haven't done any of it. It's just been like crazy. I haven't done anything. I feel strange about that too, because I don't know. I mean, I'm just happy that I have something I figured out, which is the talking. This is a good way to at least feel like, like I'm doing something. I'm not like doing absolutely nothing, because before it was like I had no hobbies at all, wasn't really enjoying anything, and I don't know why it took so long for me to figure this out. But obviously now it's like fine. I think I'm very like pleased doing this, and it's all good. But yeah, for a while it was messy, it was scary, it was just not, and so I think this trait too, it kind of became paramount where during my later teens, I want to say when I was around 15, 16, if my memory serves me correctly, this is when I kind of started to get into the imaginative and I try to describe to people this trait of, enjoying things without doing them. And I was explaining how great that is because it's less materially wasteful. Obviously, if you can imagine eating a certain dessert and that feels good, and you can like recreate the feeling and really feel it and really taste it, and you kind of remember the chemical release, the dopamine, the serotonin, and like I just think that I have a much greater ability to do that, and I didn't really realize that. So I was like telling other people as if it's some breakthrough for humanity. But I think it turns out, and the truth is that not that many people can do that. Like most people just can't really imagine things that well, and they may remember the experience or the memory. They might, but they're not going to remember like the true feeling and how good it was. I think, and I'm not sure about this, so I could be making some incorrect assumptions, but I think most people, they can't really remember the actual good feeling. They just remember that it was good and that they want to do it again. So I think this kind of ties into my theory about my memory and how it's possible that both good and bad experiences, I actually remember them of a greater detail and can sort of re-manifest the experience. So in this case, I was playing around with like, well, there's no reason to eat unhealthy because you can recreate the same feeling in your mind using your mind and your imagination. But I'm realizing like most people are probably, it's just like not that possible to do that. Whereas for me, and I'm not saying it's perfect, I mean, my memory could be better, but I think like my ability to remember a specific taste, if I think right now of, especially certain things from my childhood, like a hamburger with the hamburger bun, for some reason, even like a hot dog and like the hot dog bun, in my mind, I can immediately taste it, and I can recreate the whole texture of the bun, and the I can see it very clearly right now, and just the whole texture of how it felt in my mouth, and just completely recreate that experience. And these are things like I haven't even thought about for a long time. I don't really eat hot dogs. I don't really like them anymore. Even the peanut butter and jelly sandwich and ice cream, obviously, certain candies. A very, very vivid visual, chemical, and taste-based response I can re-bring up and see it with almost a perfect, popsicles, water ice. It's crazy. Now I'm doing it. I don't even do it that often, but I guess it's a skill I should really cultivate. And, again, I think people have a different spectrum of their ability to do this, but I think for most people, it's just relatively low. It's just not, they're not that good at doing it. They're not that good. Like, they're just not that good at it. Like, a regular person can't really do it as well. And like I said, my theory is that a bulk of humans, they can only remember that something was good and then to need to do it again. Whereas with me, I can remember the experience and then maybe not need to do it again, because it's like, well, I can recreate it. Or, certain pizzas and specific pizza places and the different texture and taste of the cheese and stuff, and being able to recreate that in my mind. That's just not something that everybody can do. I don't know. And so, at least it doesn't appear to be the case. I don't want to act like I'm more special than I am, but it's just, I don't really know how else to describe this phenomena. And based on the way other people act or react to when I present this type of information, I don't know. It just doesn't really, I don't know. It's pretty interesting though, isn't it? It's like, because I don't think I've ever really thought about this, or even movies or TV shows. Like, when I was a child and now, but I think more so I remember this being a child, like I would really replay certain scenes, or, attempt to like watch the whole movie, or kind of like compartmentalize it to make it go by faster, because that obviously feels better. And it's possible that like to actually sit there for the whole hour and a half versus replaying it at a perfect speed in your mind in a much shorter time span, kind of recollecting all the emotions, but having it all be faster, that is like a better form of dopamine. It's like actually playing a game in my head. I would just reminisce on all the most positive or the feel-good moments in the game, and they would feel good. But then to actually play the game, it seems like a waste of time, because I already have my brain, and my brain already enjoys. It already has the memory, so it's like to have to go through this effort to get it, or to like do a task within a game to do it again. Why would I do that if I have a memory that feels so good to just reminisce on and bring back in the present? It's just kind of a logical conclusion, and I think most people itch for more novelty because they can't bring things back as strongly in their mind. And again, my main reference point is that maybe people can remember that things were good, so they know to do them again, but they have a very difficult time remembering the actual moment. On the contrary, when it comes to direct experiences, I don't feel them as strong. So I think most humans, when they actually eat the pizza, that is like a huge surge. And then for me, it's like actually taking part in the action is like, it's good, but it's not like great. Like I'm not really blown away when like I actually eat a pizza. It's more than a memory, of course, but sometimes it's not. I mean, sometimes an obsession or a craving is so much stronger than the actual action. So it's like, and I just think that for a lot of people, the action is stronger than the memory. But for me, that gap is very close. Of course, it's pretty difficult to, deduce that. But I think the difference between my memory or my thoughts or my mind and the actual action is very close. Whereas for most people, that's a wide gap. They're just not capable of conceiving it properly. And so, yeah, I mean, that's what I'm saying. And as I'm saying this, here are my theories. There's a mix of maybe an ADHD or a depressive angle to it. And then there's also sort of this like Zen-like potential enlightenment angle, because I assume this is sort of like a monk-like behavior. And maybe only a monk-like mind, maybe not every mind is capable of this degree of like enlightenment or something. So those are my two angles. That's kind of my conclusion. And I'm going to run this through GPT and see what it verifies or denies. And if I actually remember and end up doing that, because I've said that multiple times and I've had multiple interesting conversations, and then I haven't actually gotten around to doing it. So that's kind of a shame. I wish there was somehow some kind of like tighter, easier way for me to do it. But I'd have to be all on the same phone, which I don't want to do because of it's just so much easier to hold this phone and record it. But I guess I could just do everything all on one phone, and that would make things a lot easier. But of course, I have to be like over-optimized, and I have like my 13 mini dedicated as the recording phone. And then, like I have all these phones to do these like different tasks, but then it's almost like an over-optimization, and then it ends up being less efficient than if I had just stuck with one. So what is the meaning of that? I mean, just over-obsessive, needing like a different specific tool for everything to be as good as possible, but then it becomes less efficient in the grand scheme of things. There's got to be a trait or a thing for that. Is that also like ADHD? You see what I'm saying? This is crazy. This is some diagnosing needed done here. But anyways, it's been Schlaw, and now it's time to buy Schlaw. So, see you, Schlaw.